Hey there, it's the Teeing Off podcast. This is John Borneman, as always, here with Matt Harness. We're in the Freedom Center again, down in the bunker, so shouldn't hear any background noise because there is no noise in this space. It's perfectly quiet. How you doing, Matt?
Good. We still need to put some golf art up.
Well, we have the podcast in progress sign on the door. It's held up not with tape, but with a Post-it note because we don't have any tape.
That's art?
I mean, this podcast itself is sort of art.
Yeah, we do have some brochures with golf materials. So
how you feeling today?
Close enough. Not well.
Yeah.
I mean,
You recovered from that beating from yesterday?
No. It was, as I mentioned earlier, I want to go ahead and, if anybody at Orchard Valley is listening, to apologize for my disgraceful display of golf.
That's about as bad as I've seen you play in some time. And that's what I needed for my first victory over Matt for this season. We played 18 yesterday afternoon, and I finally got you after you had my number this year.
I'm gonna go ahead and blame it on that lefty in front of us.
Yeah, well, all right. Well, there's a whole multitude of things. I think you'll find that slow play is sort of something we'll come back to often on this podcast. The lefty was bad enough, hitting multiple shots while someone's waiting in the tee behind you.
And that was at the 17th hole.
Right.
He drops 3 balls in a row.
How you've got that far in your round and you think you still need breakfast balls, I don't know.
And it was from the fairway.
And his partner wasn't any better.
Well, his partner forgot every club.
He left He left his putter on the 10th hole.
Which was his first.
His first hole, which leaves you to wonder, how do you leave your putter on the green? Isn't that the last club you're holding? I mean, if you've left your putter on the green, you have done something horribly wrong.
And I'll say that from the 10th green to the 11th tee box is probably the longest drive, because I saw him when I picked that putter up near the bunker. See him taking the 5-minute drive, and honestly, I'm not even sure he said thank you.
And normally that's 1 to 2. At Orchard Valley. We played the 9s in reverse, but yes, that's a long drive. And I'm going to say this. I say this as a public service announcement. I don't say this to make fun of this gentleman because I know maybe he's a new golfer. I did the whole club head covers on your irons thing when I first started playing. I thought this is a great way to preserve my clubs. Like, I'm going to put the individual rubber covers. I was young. I was dumb. I was probably like 12 or 13. Listen, if you do that, just don't. There's no reason for the individual club head covers on your irons. It's just ditch them.
Well, then he forgot.
It's extra stuff that you can lose. He had to drive back later on.
Was that a club
to drive back to get one of his rubber club head covers for his irons? And that is inexcusable. I get losing a wedge, behind the green, and trust me, as I said, I'm a guy who used to do it when I was younger. I saw the light. I just make sure everyone knows, if you do use the club head covers on the irons, either tweet at me, John_Borneman, with a good reason why.
Be prepared to shoot a 65.
Right. Well, but I mean, how is that going to help you shoot a 65? I guess you're beyond reproach if you can shoot 7 under par. But
yes. So I'll say back to this group. So they started with 2. It was a twosome.
Yes.
And then by 10, they picked up 2 more. So they have 4 players now and 3 golf carts. By 15, one of the original twosome left. And then,
on foot.
And then he left on foot. No, he took a cart.
Oh, he took a cart.
Because he had one of the extra carts.
All right.
Then on, was it 16?
Yeah,
16th hole.
That's right.
Then another guy unstrapped and walked it back. So I'm just going to say the common denominator this whole time was the lefty.
Right. That's true.
I guess it's surprising that the other guy stuck with him.
Yeah.
But he's the club head cover guy, so perhaps he has his own set of issues. Watch out for these guys at Orchard Valley and Aurora.
We weren't playing well enough to do too much complaining, but just well enough to be slowed down. And we'll have to try to get it back out to Orchard, maybe later in the year a little bit. That was a course. It's in Aurora, pretty close to where I grew up in Yorkville, and that was always a really nice course. I know they've been having some trouble with the greens there lately, but it has potential if they can get the greens back online.
Well, should we say why we were out near the Iowa border?
As Matt refers to it, yes, we were on the Iowa border because We've made a stop by Rich Harvest Farms yesterday, just to
Sugar Grove.
Yeah, in Sugar Grove, just to sort of talk to the people over there who have got quite a few events coming up this summer. The first of which is going to be the Palmer Cup. In June. I believe it's June 12th to the 14th.
And we'll just tease us now. We're going to talk more about this later this month. But the Palmer Cup is the best way to describe it, maybe easiest, is a Ryder Cup event for college athletes,
right,
for college players. And it's June 12th to June 14th at Rich Harvest Farms, which also will host the Western Amateur.
Later in the summer, right?
Yep, and later this summer. And then next year, the International Crown, which is a international women's event. I think it was first year was last year.
Yeah, we could get into it now. I don't think we want to because there's so much to talk about, and I don't really want to spoil it. I mean, we were there. It's like, part of that is like a tour through Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. I mean, if you're a golf fan, I mean that the compound of the property is amazing, and I think we're gonna do a live edition of the podcast there May 27th, right? The Wednesday, May 27th, so kind of previewing and leading into the Palmer Cup, which again, it's gonna have some great golf. I mean, in the past, you've had guys like Ricky Fowler and Dustin Johnson. Luke Donald played out there. Matt Kuchar. So I mean, this is stars of tomorrow type stuff.
So in some ways, to make a joke about it, it's a way to get the U.S. players prepared to get beat in the regular Ryder Cup.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess that's right.
It's one way to look at it.
I mean, right. You let them get some early losses in, right? So before they experience the big stage of the Ryder Cup, the disappointment there. So I guess that's the cynic's way to look at it. But thank you to Alex Kleinwadine, a guy I grew up playing amateur golf with, for inviting us out there, and Whitney Goodbread, Laura Poxatek. Oh, Laura, I'm sorry, I've just butchered that name. But thanks for you guys for the help, and of course more information to come on that. But today we're going to have a couple interviews that we recorded when we were out in Benton Harbor at Harbor Shores. It's going to be the Chief Championships Officer of the PGA of America, Kerry Haigh, who had some good stuff to talk about the golf course out there at Harbor Shores, and maybe more immediately the PGA Championship up at Whistling Straits at the end of the summer here. And we also have Chip Beck, Mr. 59, Lake Forest resident.
Georgia Bulldog.
And Georgia Bulldog, as Matt is.
And as you'll hear later, he does refer to it as the Harvard of the South correctly.
Chip Beck is a great interview, by the way, and like just a happy guy.
Yeah, just genuinely nice. I don't even think it's not an act, because
how many times have we talked to him?
3 or 4 times that I've talked to him, he is like that every single time. And for someone to put on an act, I mean, you really have to be, a drama expert to do that. So just a genuinely nice guy. We had a really good time chatting with him. So I'm going to poke a little fun at him, because when we put down the iPhone in the middle of the table, he did think it might have been live radio.
Are we on live radio? Well,
but we forgive him, because he is, right. It's a generation removed.
And he's probably used to honestly doing things a little bigger than this podcast. So maybe it's on us. For only having a little iPhone there. Yeah. And thanks to Kemper Lesnick, which put on that event at Harbor Shores, and Megan Godfrey in particular for setting up those interviews for us, because I think we have some good stuff with them. But I think we'll probably get to that in a little while. You want to do some headlines first?
Yeah, there's a ton.
First thing. This is somewhat breaking news. I just heard that this afternoon. I don't know if you heard this. Tomorrow at the White Sox game, John Daly is throwing out the first pitch, and he's a celebrity bartender at their bar and grill, which sounds like the worst idea ever hatched.
Well, at least he's not bartending first and then throwing out the first pitch.
Well, he is. It's 6 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock, right? Or is that? I thought that was before. I thought it was.
He's bartending before.
Bartending at 6 and then throwing out the first pitch.
Oh, that is a bad idea.
That's a terrible idea.
Yeah. Maybe they'll give him a Nerf ball or push him.
I think that people have generally been responding that way on Twitter, as from what I saw on social media. People are just
perhaps whoever's standing in the batter's box can wear the hockey goalie uniform.
And I don't know. I know he's had, we joke about this, but he has had his problems with alcohol in the past. So I think as what I've read recently that he's been sober and off that. I think he's.
I'm not sure that's right.
I think the stories that I've read up until like 2014. I mean, he drinks 10 to 12 Diet Cokes a day now. But I'm not sure what the status of that is. It's just, it strikes me as a little bit tone deaf, perhaps.
First of all, I would say anybody bartending or drinking before throwing out the first pitch is a bad idea.
And maybe he's not drinking. I mean, a lot of bartenders don't drink on the job, so.
Which ones?
But yes, that I saw that today, and I couldn't let it.
Well, that's going to be must-see TV.
Yeah, I mean, I told our boss that I was seriously considering getting credentialed to that game now because I felt like the podcast had to be there to chronicle this, but I think it might be too late.
Is there anything else going on?
Nothing. I mean, besides keeping track of the between John Daly watch and keeping track of the Players Championship, I have gotten almost no work done today, so that's about it.
Yeah, so the Players this week, which huge tournament considered by many to have the strongest field in golf, yet it's not yet been deemed that major championship, but a lot of players consider that win just as important. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if the fans consider the same.
It's one of the qualifying tournaments for the. Isn't it one of the tournaments for the World Golf Hall of Fame that if you were to win?
Oh yeah, true. Yep.
As we talked about just a couple weeks ago, that it definitely holds more weight than.
Well,
it ends up being one of the richest prizes on tour.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a big field. I think yesterday, it has the top 50 in the world ranking, which we can debate that because we saw last week in the match play. You get a Tommy Fleetwood, which don't want to say anything bad about his game, but it's not exactly a guy that people ever heard of except his parents. but you do have the top 125 from the last year's money list,
right,
in the Players. So you in the U.S. Open, for all its prestige, does have that qualifying aspect to it, where you can have a guy that gets hot, for a couple of rounds and gets his way into that tournament. The PGA Championship has the 20-25 club pros, which is a nice aspect of that tournament, but they're not exactly the strongest players. Yeah. British Open, again, you're just having international players, and the Masters is a invite only, again, very international. So the Players definitely has the deepest.
You have the former champions, some of whom aren't in the greatest form. So
no,
yeah,
okay. The Players Championship, yeah. It's a great tournament. The golf course is fun to watch. There's a lot of those risk-reward holes that make for interesting viewing. And Rory McIlroy looks like he's he's in position. You don't ever win it the first day, but you just put yourself in position. I believe he shot 69.
Jordan Spieth is pretty out of position. That was that power group day. McIlroy Spieth today, is that right?
Yeah.
And I think McIlroy, he's in position. I think Jason Day ended at 3 under, McIlroy 3 under, and I think Spieth was three over, yeah. So right now, as we're speaking, it's Hideki Matsuyama and Charlie Hoffman at 5 under.
Which Hideki is my brother's favorite player.
Right.
It'd be nice to see him win.
Yeah, I'm indifferent about that. I don't feel like it would be that great.
Somebody asked him after his round today if he feels like he has a rivalry with Rory and Spieth, which is the media that bored with?
They asked Matsuyama that?
And he said, of course not. He said, I'm not. He said, I need to practice more, which is true. But what is? He's a great young player, but what has he done? We're in the media, but it's sometimes annoying to listen to. I showed you yesterday.
Right. No, I'm just going to say the media, golf media needs to just pump the brakes a little bit with this Rory and Jordan Spieth stuff. They're great. They're young. I get it. Everyone sees this as the answer to the post-Tiger golf world, but let's settle.
Yesterday I showed John on my phone the top 5 stories in the Golf Channel carousel were any number of versions of Rory and Jordan Spieth.
Rory on Jordan. Jordan on Rory. Rory says no rivalry with Jordan. Jordan says rivalry with McIlroy? Not just yet. Unbelievable.
To me, it's amazing because it used to be all Tiger Woods.
Right.
And Tiger was nowhere to be found. I mean, even, as we talked about with his, public breakup, we should say, with Lindsey Vonn, because I like to stay out of people's personal lives. But, I mean, she does this, I think it was her initiated on Facebook, which seems like a very impersonal and way to end a relationship, which at the Masters, we talked to Chip Beck about this, and it's too bad that our podcast is not live, because Chip Beck thought Tiger Woods is turning the corner, and he talked about, maybe not implicitly with the relationship with Lindsey Vonn, but he said that he never seen Tiger look so happy, and she was there with him and his two children, and now that's over with. Let's hope Tiger Woods doesn't take a nosedive on the personal side, but he did look like he was playing pretty well.
Yeah,
this week
I mean, was looking at it here. He's even through 6, so plodding along. We both have our questions about whether or not he can play as well at a more difficult course like TPC Sawgrass where you don't have the room for error that maybe you would have at Augusta. So we'll see. I would say this is more of a test for him than being able to go and put together some decent rounds at Augusta National, just because I think he's so comfortable at that course and he can miss the ball a little bit and get away with it. So we'll see, how he does here.
So there was another tournament going on on the back end of the match play, and then that just ended yesterday. It's the USGA's newest.
Did it end yesterday?
It did end yesterday.
Okay. All right. I thought it was today, but anyway.
The USGA's newest tournament on the schedule, which is the 4-ball championship. Of course, that replaced the Public Links championship. And last year we spoke to
Tom O'Toole, USGA president.
USGA. But before we get to that, what do you think? I mean, I think it's kind of a cool tournament. I was a little sad to see the Public Links go, because I thought that was a cool tournament. Different, because a lot of players, growing up, that are good. They do have private club memberships. I grew up playing public golf. A guy who was in the semifinals, and I forget his partner's name, but Todd Mitchell, who is from the Bloomington area, he is a student of Brett Packey's.
Oh, that's okay, right?
The teacher at out of Pine Meadow, who also works with Nick Hardy. So that's kind of cool to see. Semi-local guy in that tournament. The winner, Nathan Smith, along with his partner, won the U.S. Mid-Am at Conway Farms a few years ago. I mean, they drubbed their opponent 7-5.
Yeah.
So this is on Fox Sports 1. This is the first tournament now that Fox takes over the USGA from NBC. So they were, testing out Joe Buck and Greg Norman in the booth, and Greg Norman, I think he probably gets better, but he was a little dull. But the funny part is when I turned it on TV, it was already over, and they had another hour and a half scheduled, but Smith and his partner won so early.
Yeah, Smith's an interesting guy, because I remember from when he won the Mid-Am, he's 35 years old, and he's won the Mid-Am 4 times, and what he said there was that in a lot of these USGA events, I mean, he really can't compete with those guys. He's, these college players. That's what most of the USGA events, he said, were tailored toward. But the Mid-Am, that's more for guys like him, guys who've just been amateur golfers for their whole lives and just like to play in tournaments. But this is an event, I don't know if the 4-ball format had anything to do with it.
His partner played out of his mind.
Right. I mean,
in the
because, the Public Links last year, Doug Gim of Buffalo Grove was in the finals, I believe, right? And he's just a college student now, and he was beat by Byron Meth, who I think was 21 years old, 22 years old. So I mean, again, like last year, the tournament, it seems like a tournament toward the end at least was dominated by young golfers again, and then you have a 35-year-old winning this year.
And his partner, White, I forget his
Todd
first.
White.
Todd White. He's an older fellow too. I mean, he's in his 30s.
And you mentioned Tom O'Toole, and yeah, we did an interview with the podcast for him last year and never really used it. Variety of circumstances, most of all probably was laziness, but we did. We asked him about, or Matt asked him about, whether the USGA had heard anything negative about not going forward with public links, and what he said was that he thought it was, of course he's going to spin it the way he wants to, but he said, it was a positive thing, a cause for celebration, because he thought that the divide between public golf and private golf had been lessened, and that there was no more need for a tournament devoted specifically to players who only play out of public courses. I don't know.
I mean, of course, we have nothing to support, an argument against that, because I didn't look. But I still find that hard to believe that, someone that has a 15-year-old who has access to a private club and, the facilities there isn't better off than the 15-year-old who has to, do his thing at a public course. And that's not to say that it can't be done. Nick Hardy is a great example. I mean, he didn't grow up in the country club environment, and look, he's turned out just fine. But I do think it is a step. You're a step ahead of the game if you do have access to that. But again, I mean, maybe they just thought that the public links had kind of run its course, and that's not to say I like this 4-ball tournament. I thought it was fun to watch. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have a lot of more aggressiveness because you have a partner. And if you don't know what 4-ball is, you and your partner play your own ball through the hole and you just take the best score. Right. So you have guys going after pins, trying to make birdies because they have, a partner who at that point, at that stage in an event like this, is probably pretty good. Right. So he's making par. It's not like the two of us that let's make sure we have par.
Right. Yeah.
First, they have par. They're trying to make a bunch of birdies. So it was fun, and it was at the Olympic Club in San Francisco, which is right next door to TPC Harding Park, where they had the World Match Play Championship. So I think it's a great event. Maybe at the expense of another good event. I don't know, but going forward, I'm maybe one day I'll try and do that.
You're probably gonna need a better part than
tomorrow. Won't be that day.
No. Speaking of, you mentioned the World Match Play, and we touched on this a little bit earlier. But what a train wreck I feel like that turned out to be in terms of the guys who got through the pool play and into the round of 16. I mean, it's saved by Rory's win. That I feel like Rory winning is like, okay, well, there you go. You got the world number 1 wins the tournament. That helps it a little bit. But I don't know. I guess you kept the good guys around for 3 days, but you didn't keep them around for the last 3 days.
Well, but you can't. I think that's a silly way to look at it, because at the Players' Championship, you can do whatever you want, but you're not guaranteeing Jordan Spieth is going to stick around the weekend. Right. I mean, you have to have a format, and those guys have to hold up their end of the bargain and play well. Now, Jordan Spieth played really well at match play, and just that's the nature of it. He ran into guys just on those specific days that played better. Somebody thought he might have shot 14 under for 3 days, and he doesn't make the weekend. Is that fair? I don't know. But match play that's just what it is. You can have the best score and still lose. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't necessarily have a problem.
You wanted to change the format already
a few times. I'm on the stroke play.
You've got a different one, but then what's the point of making it 3 rounds? So now Matt's proposal is 3 rounds stroke play, and then cut it to 8 people for match play.
Yes.
Right. So what's the point of even having the match play tournament if you're going to just throw 3 rounds of stroke play in there?
Well, you didn't, because that's kind of what the Western Am does. They try and identify the best players that week. Mm-hmm. So that's what stroke play does. And then you play match play, which is, just an entertaining and different.
So, but then you're only going to have how many matches?
Well, you have 4.
And then
so you play one of the matches.
You have 7 matches.
You play the quarters, maybe quarters and semis on Saturday, and then you play 18 holes on Sunday. I think 36 holes on Sunday is too much.
You got fatigued of the match play.
I got fatigued just watching the match play on Sunday. That kind of, tells you what I usually do on Sundays.
Well, and match play, it because of the head-to-head nature, it can, stir up some emotions, some anger, and we had probably the first and I can't remember when, like an actual golf fight. Miguel Angel Jimenez. And,
verbal fight.
But that's pretty darn close compared to how maybe someone would say. Previous golf fights have been you'd have to read between the lines in post-round interviews.
Well, yeah, you had the Sergio and Tiger thing from across a fairway.
Right. Keegan Bradley and Miguel Angel Jimenez going toe-to-toe and getting pretty close to each other.
Well, what did you think? I know some people say, is there a winner or a loser? Is who was right, who was wrong? Do you fall on any side of that?
Probably I side with Keegan because Jimenez probably just doesn't need to tell his caddy to shut up. And I want, if I'm Keegan Bradley's caddy, I would like Keegan Bradley to tell the person who just told me to shut up that he should probably just step on over to the other side of the green.
Well, first of all, I don't know that anybody knows what his caddy said to Jimenez, and I'm of the opinion that caddy probably shouldn't be involved at all. But Jimenez was well within his rights because in match play, the guy can walk over and observe a drop, and I think Keegan's caddy had issue with that because he automatically assumed Jimenez thought something was going wrong when I think Jimenez just wanted to see what was going on.
He came over and I think said, remember you only get 2 club lengths or something like that. So
that's a good tip. He doesn't want to get penalized. I think he was being.
They had an official over there.
He was being helpful. Now this is not an official. What I heard, these are referees. Now a referee is supposed to settle disputes and maybe call fouls, but this guy just stood on the outskirts.
The boxing match.
And he, from the video I saw, did nothing except enjoy the argument.
Probably because everyone else, he's bound. He wants to see a good golf fight.
But I think Keegan's caddy maybe overstepped his bounds in that thing. Then Keegan just defending his caddy's honor.
So I'll take Keegan's side on this, because the only reason that you're taking Angel Jimenez's side is because you think he's a cool
coolest,
dude. You think he's a cool dude.
He is a cool dude. And
you read the SI profile on him, or basically it was kind of a Q&A on him. You heard him say that water is for fishes, and so he orders, what is a whiskey, or something like that.
I think it was Bushmill whiskey.
Bushmill whiskey. So water. Would you like a water, Mr. Jimenez? No, water's for fishes. Which is, if there's anything that's going to be on your headstone, it's going to be that.
Water is for fishes. Some people say that Jimenez probably locked up that 2018 Ryder Cup captaincy by getting in a young American space. Now that's to say that the way Keegan's playing,
please let him not be there.
He might not be on that team.
How many matches in a row has he lost?
He's lost 8 match play matches in a row.
Unbelievable.
So you can also see why he was a little testy playing a match that he was losing that didn't matter. And yet his opponent was trying to make it matter.
That's the other thing. Yeah. Also that those matches and the players.
That might have made me mad.
It happened to several guys. Ian Poulter, I think, tweeted before his 3rd match. About to go play the most pointless round of my life. Hope it goes well, or something like that.
So another change that has been bandied about is instead of going to or assigning point values to a win and to a tie, don't go to extra holes. That would then potentially eliminate these ties. Mm-hmm. So you get 3 points for a win, 1 point for a tie. And if there is a tie, then you have a playoff. No head-to-head.
Right.
If you beat this guy, that guy beats you. And just play those, couple of holes. That would, to me, be a better way to get, to those second stage, if you will, of the match. But
we're going a little over our time here, so real quick, we wanted to hit U.S. Open odds. Those are just out for this coming up here. So Matt, who did you see for the golf futures U.S. Open odds? Who do you think looks pretty good?
Well, Rory at 7-1 he seems to be playing very well.
Yeah,
so I'd take that. And Jordan Spieth was 8.5-1. I took that too. So.
You think he's going to win the first 2 majors? Tiger at 15-1 is sort of a joke, I think. don't know if anybody should be taking that.
Is that your gambling advice?
Do not take Tiger.
To the general public?
Do not take Tiger at 15-1.
What would have to be the odds for you to take Tiger?
I think that no matter what, I think you're just burning that money. So I don't think.
But even for $5,
I would take him for $5 at 100-1.
Oh, okay. I would do like 40.
Yeah, I just don't think. I don't think there's any way. But yeah,
I don't value $5 like you do.
Right. So Rory, and this is all, of course, if you're a gambling person, which neither Matt nor I would ever gamble. So.
Well, at least we don't condone it.
Right. So, anyway, any other good values that you saw? Anybody that you thought?
Honestly, after looking at those first two, I didn't see much point going down. But the golf course is so unknown.
That's true. Where is it this year again?
It's at Chambers Bay, which is in or around Seattle. And it's sort of a Pebble Beach
played there, right?
Vibe. I'm sorry?
And it's never played there, so you really have no idea. The guys will be seeing it for one of the first times that they've ever seen it. Yeah,
it won't be in. They have no point of reference in terms of what condition it might be in, like what the rough is going to look like. Jordan Spieth's caddied there, so he might have the most local knowledge of anybody.
It's good planning ahead
in that field. Yeah. Jordan Spieth's a smart guy. Maybe he picks him. His caddy, knowing that one day that Chambers Bay is going to host a major tournament.
Jason Day at 22-1. That's one I would go to.
Yeah, it's hard to 22-1. That's good.
That's pretty good.
But I don't know the guy. I haven't done.
That'll be interesting to see that one on TV. It'll be plenty of time for research still. So, but we got to get to these interviews, or else people are going to stop listening. So, first up, we'll go Chip Beck. This is Mr. 59, who was given a golf clinic at Harbor Shores last week. But we got to talk to him about all kinds of stuff, from Conway Farms in Lake Forest to the Champions Tour at Encompass at North Shore Country Club in Glenview.
It's how highly he holds the media in esteem, which is... he's a nice guy.
Here's Chip Beck. Okay, we've got Chip Beck, Mr. 59, here at Harbor Shores in Benton Harbor, Michigan. Will be host of the 2016 and 2018 Senior PGA Championship. Chip, how's it going?
Fantastic. I'm so glad to be here at Harbor Shores. I've played in 2 major championships here, and we've got one coming next year. And they have made some subtle changes to the golf course, which are going to make huge enjoyment changes for the person that's coming here to play it. Mm-hmm. So, and even for us, we're going to enjoy it a lot more.
Are you going to make a bunch of putts out there today?
I'm hoping to. Are you going to play?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, you guys are tough. True Michiganders. You don't even have a shirt on, no sweater, nothing.
Yeah, for local listeners, Chip, you still live in Lake Forest, is that right?
I do. All Illinois, right. 25 years.
25 years now, wow. And so, talk a little bit about, we got here for the tail end of, you were giving a golf clinic to media members earlier today, which
they need
a very brave thing to do. I hope you didn't let any of them hit shots, because I've seen these guys
Well, I was going to, and... it's really surprising, though. The media has been so good to golf that I'm glad you guys get out and support us, because without you, there wouldn't be a Masters, would there?
Yeah. We do a great
exciting.
Job.
Absolutely. And it's a Georgia graduate right here. Look at him.
See, every time we do an interview, it comes up that Matt's from Georgia, and he says it's not his fault, but it always comes up somehow.
The Harvard of the South. It's just the way it works, Especially from journalism school, it's rated over Yale, which is impressive.
Yes, there we go.
See there?
There you go.
Good golfers, good journalists.
What was the Cliff Notes version of your message at the clinic this morning? Give me the real kind of the bare bones real quick for people who weren't able to see.
I would say, first off, that everything comes down to proper grip, and it's changed somewhat in the last 10 years. The right hand's been the same for 500 years, but we know today that if you have the proper grip, you can hit more shots more effectively and more precisely with more accuracy and distance than you could with a weak grip. And so, for instance, if you have a person that takes their thumb, like a female, and runs it straight down the top of the shaft, we know there's not one LPGA Hall of Famer. And the only male pros to make it are your best putters. So, like, for instance, Jordan Spieth, he has a very weak grip. And look at how good a putter he is. He has to be.
Right.
And so that's basically it, you know. And so I was giving them a rundown on how to maximize their distance with all the new ideas that have come into the game through all the research that's been done and all the great teachers like, you know, Dr. Jim Sutty, for instance. He's one of the best I've ever seen.
And we did catch to the very end of the putting. You said, you know, it was interesting. You said the arc putting stroke, you know, where the putter kind of arcs back and arcs through. You did not like. You've been focusing on straight back, straight through, which is something I've been working on as well because I'm a terrible putter, absolutely terrible putter. And so
what's the idea behind?
If you're a terrible putter, I would try to take that putter straight back and straight through. And I wouldn't be afraid to use a little wrist either. Like everybody's afraid to use wrist, but you know, it's easier than throwing a ball. It's just as easy, I would say, and it's easier than walking or some activity like that. So putting, if you have fewer moving parts and that putter's staying more square to the line, it doesn't matter if the ball's up, back, or forward in your stance. It's going to hit the center of the putter, which is really important, and that face is going to be looking at that target more times than not. And that's an easier way to putt. It gives you better percentages because the lie's changing, the curve changing. You know, from the different lies and lofts of the different settings on, you know, the way you set up with the greens, especially here in Michigan, they got a lot of slope. So you have to be able to try to keep it straight to eliminate all the variables. Because I know that when you start arcing that putter 2 and 3 inches on the inside and on the forward stroke, man, it's hard to make putts. You've got to have that ball perfectly centered.
Right.
And I've never putted more poorly than when I was trying to arc it on those boards and what have you. So for me, it never worked. I don't know. But there's going to be an arc in the stroke anyways.
Right.
So try to keep it to a minimal amount.
Well, the Encompass Championship is back in the North Shore for a third year. Are we going to be
I'm
you there?
going to be there.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to it. It's at a great golf course.
Yeah.
North Shore Country Club is one of the finest country clubs. I mean, the members, you know, they can cut those greens down and roll the greens, and they're ready for a major tournament. So it's one of the finest courses we have and best groomed courses in Chicago.
Yeah, we.
So a lot of fun.
We play there a few times. It's always circle it on the calendar.
Well versed with Dan Dinelli.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he does a great job.
Without a doubt. And I mean, we've played qualifiers there in the past for the U.S. Open and what have you. And boy, they always say, "Gosh, you know, if they just cut these down, man, you could play U.S. Open today." So it's that good. So I'm really proud that Encompass is still with us, and we're going to have a good year this year.
So I've heard this is their last year as the title sponsor.
Yeah.
What do you see this tournament doing in the future?
I'm really hoping that people can look at what Encompass has done and how it's helped the community and how they've, you know, I think gotten a lot of name recognition through it. I mean, I didn't know Encompass was part of Allstate, and I didn't know that Compass was the high end of their business, and that, you know, of all that they do, and that Tom Ely's one of the nicest, most professional people that we have in Chicago. So I think the community has been served well, getting to know them more, getting to understand their business more, and, you know, having all the volunteers come out from Encompass and all the different volunteers from out the city. I mean, I hope that we can find a sponsor that sees value in that. And hopefully they can use the golf as an entertainment tool and to develop our community, make it a better place to live versus, you know, something that doesn't have a lot of activities and have no golf and So golf's a great addition to our communities. I believe.
I always say, it's nice that, the BMW back when it was Western Open was here all the time.
Yep.
Then it, became the BMW and it's here every other year. It was nice to have a tournament in Chicago every year. I would
agree.
love to, see that continue.
I agree. And with such a nice community and affluent community that we have, it's a golfing community. People love it. I think they get a lot of people out. We had probably more people at the Encompass than we do at most of our tournaments. And that shows the fan base is there, and people will really enjoy it.
And we've always said, this will be our third year covering it, and you guys are great with the fans. You're very approachable and.
Well, yeah,
I think that's the strength of the Champions Tour.
I think
you give them
right.
an experience that maybe you don't get on the PGA Tour, where it's very much about business and making your money and. When
we take the time with the people, and we know that if we weren't good to the sponsors and good to the amateurs that put on these pro-ams and that we play with, we could be playing for a $10 Nassau at our club, So we know that it's a privilege to be a part of it and to be involved with it, because I think the pro golfers sweep the cream right off the top of the golf business. So we know that, and we've been down that road long enough that we respect these sponsors, and we respect the fact that they're getting involved to make our community better and their companies more recognizable. And, air golf is a great tool for raising money in communities. It's probably the best, and we've proven that we raise more money for charity than any other endeavor.
Well, I mentioned that you still make your home in Lake Forest, and of course the PGA Tour coming back to Lake Forest for the BMW Championship this year, Conway Farms. I know it's been kind of a cold winter, spring, but have you got a chance to get out there yet? Are you going to get out there this summer before the tournament?
I was just out there at Conway last week.
How are the changes? What have they done?
I'm not real familiar with that, but I do know that they're adding some length to number one, and. All I can tell you is that Conway Farms has been improving from day one. I've never seen a better transformation of a golf course where every improvement is an improvement. And it's not like they just add length. They add features. They clear out an area to make sure that there's wind flowing around the green to make the grass grow better. And one of the things that they're putting a new grass on the greens this year, which I'm really happy with. And I think we'll have the best greens in the probably the country there this year. It'll make a huge difference, because last year, if you'll remember that sixth green, I've three-putted it more times than I've three-putted any green in the world. Tiger Woods three-putted. Even Jim Furyk three-putted it when he shot 59. The green is so difficult to read and so subtle. But that's what makes Conway Farms. But also, the greens were getting a little bit sparse, and it was getting time to upgrade and take advantage of all the new agronomy with the new grasses and what have you. So Conway's going to do that, and I know that's going to be a major improvement to the playability and the durability of the golf course. So they've done a tremendous job fixing that Fazio course and making it better each time. So. They're real golfers, it's a real golfing country club, and they know what they're doing there. So, as a matter of fact, last year when I walked in there, I thought, man, this is like going to a U.S. Open. They had it set up. BMW had more displays. It was absolutely astonishing. I thought they're doing a tremendous job of promoting that tournament.
I actually spoke to you last year after Jim Furyk shot that 59. Do you think it's going to be a low-scoring tournament? Is there another 59 out there, or have they successfully Jim Furyk proofed the course so he can't tear it up again?
I never dreamed that anybody would shoot 59 on that golf course.
Yeah.
And when he drove it right down the middle on 9, I thought to myself, he's going to break it right here. Right. He's going to shoot. He's going to hold his shot from the fairway. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about it, because the hard part was over,
right.
And the flag was open. That's the easiest flag on that whole.
And he stuffed it, didn't
green.
He very, very nearly did.
Yeah, he hit it about 3 feet.
He almost did make it.
I think I'd have been more surprised if it lipped out or something. I thought he was going to knock it right in there. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't surprising that he made that putt.
Right.
Because that is a very difficult driving hole. And Conway Farms, there's a lot of local knowledge there, and they're it is very challenging. It's shocking. It's one of the great rounds in all of golf history, for sure.
So the big news kind of in golf, at least, there's some news this week, is that Tiger laid out his next kind of 5 tournaments, or what he's going to play coming up. Do you think we'll end up seeing him in Lake Forest? Do you think he gets the game turned around and gets to the BMW Championship?
I think when I saw Tiger at Augusta, I saw him on the par 3. He looked very relaxed. He looked like he was really enjoying himself. And he had his family out walking the par 3. You can tell a lot about a person's demeanor. He just looked really happy and he looked like he was swinging really well. And I thought, I hope that he has an opportunity to feel good about his life and come back and enjoy his life, because he's so young. And he's been so good to the golf world. And people, I've been impressed with a lot of things that he's done. And so, just because he's young and immature, it's too bad he, did some crazy things. But I still believe that there's a lot of good things coming from Tiger Woods. And I'd like to see him give it a shot of getting those majors and coming back and making his life really good, because he's definitely gifted and very talented. So I'm sure hopeful that that'll happen for him. So, the first step is being happy and content and look like you're enjoying your life, and he sure looked that way. This year, I don't think he's ever played the par 3. He's out playing the par 3. Yeah. That's really good. Because the par 3 can be a hassle. I hate to tell you that, but the par 3, you're out there. It takes, you're usually pretty tired from your play because Augusta's really hilly. Yeah. You're hitting a lot of balls, a lot of walking, and it's tiring. And then you have to go out there and play the par 3.
You got little kids holding it up.
It can be tiring. Yeah. So if you have your family and it's relaxing and the people you're enjoying it, he's doing it for others. He's not doing it for himself. Mm-hmm. And that's a good indicator. Right. In my opinion, I think that's a step in the real good direction for him. And I think he's going to have a good next step of 5 or 6 tournaments. So let's hope so.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So, all right, well, Chip, I think we're going to do a little practice here, maybe grab some lunch, but appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us. It was great talking.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe in my next life I'll come back and be one of you guys and just live
I'll come back and be you.
Living the great life you're living here.
We'll be a tour pro then. Is that how it works?
Living in the great city of Chicago, you've got to be following that NFL draft this week.
Oh, God, well, you can't get away from it. Do you know who the Bears are going to draft?
They've been talking about it. They've been talking about it. And, Cutler gave one of the best interviews I've ever seen him. Like, there's another one. He seemed happy. He seemed upbeat. He seemed engaging. I thought, man, this is a new Cutler. A new era. Come on, we need a good draft this year.
Every year that's what happens.
Oh, yeah, man.
Anyway.
So let's hope it happens.
Right. Thanks, Chip. Appreciate it.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Wish you well. I'm hopefully going to go see.
All right, there's Chip Beck. You heard it here first. He's predicting a big rest of the season from Tiger and, interestingly enough, Jay Cutler as well. So that's how optimistic that guy is about life. Jay Cutler's going to have a good year.
And Tiger Woods is going to have a good year. Well, we're going to get to Kerry Haigh here in a minute, but I thought, something that might be appropriate to talk about is that we read this thing on golf.com, which is the golf arm of Sports Illustrated. And they seem to be in love with over these lists of, what's overrated, who's the most hated golfer on the PGA Tour.
Those listicles are everything now.
Yeah, that's just, I guess, a good way to throw things up online. That I looked at it. And
right.
We've had a conversation about it, so they doing their job.
Target hit. Yeah.
So they had the top 10 most overrated golf courses. Now, I would play at any of them every single day of the week.
That's the hidden thing about overrated lists is at least people are talking about you and thinking highly of you. So, overrated, yes, not top 10 most trashy golf courses. They're not.
Yeah.
It's still, but yes, so top 10 list.
So in this top 10, Chicago has the dishonor of having 3. Including the number 1, Medina,
right,
which has hosted multiple major championships.
And the Ryder Cup.
Chicago Golf Club is on that list, as is Olympia Fields, which will host the U.S. Amateur this year. So let it be known that whoever made this list
Kerry Haigh doesn't like you.
Yeah. And
we had read this. We got this after we talked to Kerry Haigh, so you'll hear us on there talking to him about courses in Chicago, and he, of course, won't give us too many specifics. And we asked him, about Medina as well. We weren't able to ask him about this list specifically, but yeah, you're right. It is interesting that a course that the PGA has come back to so often would be thought of as overrated by.
And again, I mean, there's no telling what sort of criteria is put in. Perhaps it's the same reason why players on the PGA Tour say Ricky Fowler is overrated. I mean, he has one win. He's might be one of the most popular players on tour, but he hasn't necessarily backed that up with victories. So if that makes you overrated, then maybe Medina has a bunch of great tournaments, but never produces maybe a great champion. I don't know. I mean, Tiger Woods won there.
Right.
The European Ryder Cup team won there, and they win everywhere.
Terrible champion.
So I don't know, but Kerry Haigh said that they love the Midwest, and you'll get to listen to that for yourself.
All right. So yeah, Kerry Haigh, Chief Championships Officer of the PGA of America. We've got Kerry Haigh, the Chief Championships Officer of the PGA of America here at Harbor Shores in Benton Harbor, Michigan. Kerry, thanks a lot for stopping by.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Kerry, we just listened to the brief presentation here. The 2016 Senior PGA Championship will be at Harbor Shores. You were detailing some of the changes to the course that's already hosted the tournament 2 times in 2012 and 2014. What has made this course, such an attractive location for the Senior PGA?
Well, obviously the quality of the golf course is paramount to the hosting of any of our major championship events, and Harbor Shores, designed by Jack Nicklaus, certainly fits that mold. It is truly a very challenging golf course with a lot of character, and as we talked about today, the highlight or the most interesting part of the green complexes, which both in 2012 and 2014 led to and helped create 2 great major championships in senior golf. So we reviewed what happened over those 2 championships, looked how they played, and as did the club here at Harbor Shores, and collectively kind of decided to make a few minor improvements to the greens, and without changing the overall playing characteristics and the look and the feel of those greens. So, in effect, kind of softened some of the knobs or the humps within the greens, but not, as I say, not changing the overall playing characteristics of those greens. By doing that, we're able to identify or create more hole locations, more choices for the best players in senior golf for our standpoint, but for the general members and general guests who come and visit and play, there's more hole locations for them to play, and certainly more variety. And from a maintenance standpoint, it helps spread the wear around those greens.
Is it unique for a golf course so new to have 2 major championships? Is this?
Well, some sites obviously have major championships every year. If you think of Augusta on the regular tour.
As a new golf course, this is not that old.
As a relatively new golf course, it's somewhat new, or somewhat unique, I would say. But as I say, it's not only the golf course that is important. In our case, it's the relationship and the partnership with Harbor Shores, with KitchenAid and Whirlpool, and the whole community. And those together with a quality, a championship golf course, has led us to have what's going to be four senior PGA championships presented by KitchenAid in 8 years. In 6 years. So we're excited about that, and each time we're hoping to make it better for both the players and the spectators.
What specifically did you see when you reviewed the 2012-2014 tournaments? What did you see that caused the tweaking to the greens and a few bunkers? I mean, what did you see that needed to be
tweaked a little?
Yeah, I think at any venue, you want to continue to try and improve or tweak the golf course so that if there's anything that can be made better, you try and make it better. And the people here at Harbour Shores, Jeff Knoll, and agreed with that. They want this golf course to be the very best it can be. So and they consulted obviously with Jack Nicklaus and his design team, who was the original architect, and together agreed to make these, again, improvements and minor modifications. They're not major changes. It's not affecting the overall playability, and certainly not changing the green complexes in their overall look and feel. And, as I say, it's common. I just read today at Pebble Beach they are doing the exact same thing to their 17th green. They're improving that, minor changes to it. So any good quality golf course will look to do that over time and continue to make it better if there's a way to do so.
And it didn't sound like there was much pushback from Jack Nicklaus or that group. They must have agreed that the tweaks were for the best.
Yeah, as I said, I think the changes are really fairly subtle, fairly minor. Do not change the overall look and feel of how the golf course will play. It's more that it provides a little more variety and opportunities for the players still to experience the same challenges, but more of them, as it were.
Well, with the senior PGA being here last year, coming back in 2016, the PGA Championships up at Whistling Straits for the third time. You guys love the Midwest?
We do. We've been here on many occasions. Certainly Chicago. The Ryder Cup was there in Medina. Hazeltine, the next Ryder Cup, is over in Minneapolis. So we love the area. We love the people, and we love the communities. And certainly, most importantly, the golf courses are wonderful golf courses that fairly challenge the best players in the world.
I was going to ask, Medina has been a favorite of the PGA having the Ryder Cup. Any other venues in the Chicago area that the PGA of America has looked at in the past or maybe looking at in the future for its tournaments?
Absolutely. We continue our relationship, have continued and very good relationship with Medina. And at the same time speak with and have currently speaking with 2 or 3 other courses in the area that have interest in hosting some of our events. So yes, we have an ongoing dialogue with 2 or 3, 4 venues that express an interest, and obviously things have to fit. The year, the venue, the event, the sponsor, and all those factors have to be put into the equation before any decision and announcements are made.
I don't suppose you can share the couple courses.
They're wonderful course in Chicago, and
there's a lot to choose from.
There's so many to choose from, and certainly we get approached by a number of courses every year, not only from Chicago but from other cities. So we look at everyone with interest and study it, and hopefully at some point here in the future we'll be able to make some announcements.
Well, now, sorry, John. How far out do you have to plan? I know that it was just announced that Key Island will be another host to the PGA. It's coming back to Key Island.
We hosted the 2012 PGA Championship at Kiowa, and there is to be an announcement, I think, tomorrow about a future event that's going to be held, going to be held there.
So how far? How far out?
In terms of years out, it depends on which specific event it is. With the Senior PGA Championship presented by KitchenAid, we have announced through 2018. For our PGA Championship, we have announced through 2022, except for 21. And for the Ryder Cup, we have announced through 2024. So that's 8-9 years out from today, and certainly planning starts probably in the 3 to 5 year period prior. we start bringing on staff and start selling and working with the community, getting volunteers. So it's a long process before the event actually takes place, and a lot of work is put into to make any championship work.
Well, my press release for this event calls you one of the foremost experts in the rules of golf. How does one become one of the foremost experts in what's a pretty complicated rule book?
It is. The rules are certainly like it's law decisions, I think. It's I think interest in the rules is something that some golfers have, many golfers do not really care for the rules, but we all have to play by them. So my personal interest was, I love the game, I love playing golf, and had an interest in the rules, and used that not only with golf course, understanding golf courses and the setting up of a golf course. The rules part of it is integral in terms of the setting up and playing of the game. So those two combined certainly help my interest in the rules. So then I study, and now they now start having rule schools for people that have an interest, where they teach the rules, all 34 rules, over 1,000 decisions, and basically go through, try and explain, why the rules are there, what they're for, and what they are, and then for you to use them and in competition, when a player stares you in the eye and asks for relief, and you have to be able to deal and work with the rules.
Well, I did want to ask you, back in 2010, there was that ruling with Dustin Johnson in the bunker. We're just curious, is that changing for this year? Are those waste areas going to be non-hazards, or?
Well, that is a great question. 2004 and 2010, we had the PGA Championship at Whistling Straits, and there were over 1,000 bunkers at that course. And on both occasions, at both championships, we played all of those sand areas as bunkers and notified all the players and caddies and tried to post that everywhere we could. Unfortunately, one player on what turned out to be the 72nd hole in the 2010 championship kind of forgot, grounded his club, and was penalised. But coming forward 2015, I would fully anticipate that, again, we will play the same 1,000 bunkers as bunkers, and we will again try and post notices to every player. Obviously, in 2010, he got a lot of attention, which you and everyone else still remembers. So hopefully that all the players will remember and not just suddenly forget.
I'm guessing Dustin won't ground his club on a single shot.
We certainly hope not. But, we all make mistakes, and we all suddenly, without thinking, and don't realise. And so that's part of the rules and part of the game.
Well, I know you're busy and you got to go, but I did want to ask you about the PGA of America's initiative, the Get Golf Ready, which is starting this year, and I think it's such a fantastic
Matt's
idea.
Signing his wife up.
My wife is going to do it this spring.
Wonderful. That is great news.
She, just learning the game, and it's such a great way to take, multiple lessons and learn it. And what I find interesting is not just from reading it on the website, it's not just swing and, putting and chipping, but they teach etiquette. They kind of get a player ready to go out on a golf course and not, make mistakes. So if you could speak to that initiative and why this is important for the game.
Get Golf Ready is probably one of the best initiatives for everyone that has heard about golf that wants to try it. And that golf is a very intimidating game for someone who's never played. You don't know what to do, where to go, what the rules are, what you're supposed to do, how you walk, how you dress. So Get Golf Ready is a program for basically non-golfers to start with, to learn the very basics of it and not to be intimidated about holding a club, where to stand, where to go at a golf club, and basically teaches it from the very beginning what to do, where to go, how to do it. And as you said, it's a wonderful way and it's an affordable way to learn the game and get comfortable with it, so that eventually you can go out on a golf course and be very comfortable and play. But it does it in a non-intimidating way that everyone's comfortable with. Boy, girl, old, young, whatever you are. If you've never played the game, you don't know the first thing about it. It's a great way to understand and not be intimidated by what is an intimidating game.
Yeah, she got 5 of her friends that are all going to do it together.
Wonderful.
So.
Well, want to hear about it when she's been. Hopefully she'll be a great, but it is a great way to learn the game, and strongly recommend anyone that wants to be a part and learn to play golf or even understand golf to take one of those classes and be part of it.
All right, Kerry. Well, Matt and I probably ought to smack a few putts before trying to play, this course today. We'll do some warming up. But thanks a lot for stopping by. We appreciate it. Nice talking golf with you.
Well, thanks for having me, and hope you enjoy Harbour Shores and the green complexes, and I would enjoy it. It's a wonderful facility.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Well, we'd like to thank Kerry Haigh for sitting down with us at Harbour Shores in Benton Harbor. Before we go, I want to just mention that the NCAA men's golf tournament starts next week, May 14th through the 16th. It's in Florida. I dropped the ball here. It's in Bradenton, Florida.
Okay.
I don't know the golf course. But Illinois men's team got one of the number 1 seeds at the regional. Oh, excuse me. That is incorrect. The regional start May 14th through 16th. The big tournament starts after that.
Okay.
But Illinois got a number 1 seed. They will play in Indiana, somewhere near Indianapolis, which they've had good success in that state. That's where they won the Big Ten tournament. Anyhow, the last cold weather school to win the NCAA tournament, would you like to hazard a guess?
Minnesota.
You looked it up.
I had no idea. I know that they have somewhat of a golf pedigree. Didn't
2002.
Layman go there? I know that he wasn't there when they won, but they have something of a golf history, right?
Yeah, 2002, and then before that it was Purdue, 1961.
I would not have gotten that one.
So, Illinois in a lot of ways trying to buck some trends by winning. And people, you're number 1 seed. I don't see why not. Nick Hardy. They're such a deep team. These Brian Campbell, Charlie Danielson, Nick Hardy all played at the Western Am last year in the Sweet 16.
I know you're taking Georgia.
Well, Georgia's in it that they're the 5th seed
down
out
here.
of some regional. Yeah, they're right on that bubble to make the national tournament, get out of regionals. But I just don't think they have the team. But there's another local player, Quinn Parshall, and if I mispronounce his name, I apologize. He went to Glenbrook South. He's now at Princeton. He earned an at-large bid as an individual, which is pretty impressive. I'm not imagining Princeton having, putting a whole lot of emphasis on golf. You go there to get a great education.
Right.
And I remember covering Quinn, and one of the things that has always stuck with me, he was an Eagle Scout. Golf seemed to be not as important to Quinn as other junior players. He had a lot of other interests. So it'll be fun to watch him next week. And I think all of this is going to be on the Golf Channel, or at least the big tournament will be on the Golf Channel.
So big weekend for college golf. Big week coming up. So we'll keep track of that. And next week we got to figure out what we're gonna do next week.
If you have any suggestions,
we're on Twitter. We don't have a guest lined up, but I'm sure our producer, which is me or Matt, will line up some type of interview. And if you have any suggestions, we're on Twitter at @teeing__off. That's teeing__off. He's Harness Preps, Matt Harness. I'm John Borneman, John_Borneman on Twitter, and we'll talk to you next time.
They're a prison cage, and I'm trying hard to recall the jump I saw at the outset. Oh, a big song, a wave and a storm is coming. We need to be safe, God, please send us something. Damned if this ain't gonna change my mind about falling in love for another time. And it's take it on one.